Hello, and welcome to episode 57 of Flix and the Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, Dr. Desmond Forrest Oates, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
Mr. Landers, how nice of you to join us. And thanks for not showering. What super instinct.
Super instincts. Al, on this episode, we're going to be discussing the death of Bond, casting updates for the Joker and the Batman, Ethan Hawke's point of view, upcoming fall flicks, and Keanu Reeves on a horse, all before diving into our flick of the week, Get Over It. But first, what are we drinking?
We're going to be discussing a lot more than that because for once, I have many news, and I think we have like one thing overlapping.
Did you get the 20-piece nugget? Still 20-piece?
It's not a full 20. But
you ate some in the car on the way here, but you still got a decent amount left over?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot. And also, I love the synchronicity of you calling me Dr. Desmond Forrest Oates and me choosing probably his best line in the movie. Absolutely.
Guys,
that was not planned. This is
how we do it. This is
what happens as a happy accident. It's what makes our show our show. I'm not going to say so great because maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Right. This is what makes it be.
This is what makes it be it.
Oh my God. That's us. All right. What do we got here?
So we have. Well, why don't you read it?
Hofbrauhaus. Wolters Weizen.
Not terrible.
Wolters Weizen.
Yes, we're drinking Hofbrauhaus, Wolters Weizen, product of Germany. Typically, I like to read you guys everything on the can, but most of this is not in English.
A surprising amount of it is in Chinese.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of Chinese and probably. Well, I think there's multiple different. Asian characters here. So I'm going to say there's some Japanese, some Chinese, probably some Korean.
It looks like there's some Korean on there.
As well as some Spanish, Italian, French.
There's also, I bet you
pretty sure that's Cyrillic, so I'm going to guess Russian.
All right.
There's something over there. That might be Portuguese. So I'll read you the things that are in English because those are the things I can read. This is premium imported from Germany beer. It's from Braunschweig, Germany. It's brewed in accordance to the German purity law, which we all know is the Reinheitsgebot.
I love that.
And that was what I was listening to before, and I asked you if you could hear that. I was brushing up on my I was brushing up on my pronunciation.
Good old gal.
Awesome. This is 5.3% alcohol by volume. This is 500 milliliters because it's German, so they don't measure it in pints.
Sure.
But it's roughly a pint.
Is it slightly more or slightly less?
I forget, and I did not look up the comparison.
The can feels slightly taller, so I'm going to guess it's slightly more.
But it also looks like it could be skinnier.
This is true. You make an excellent point.
It's a very pretty beer to look at. It is a wheat beer, so it's very hazy.
Let's say it's much darker than I expected it to be when I cracked the can.
It's not that it's dark. It's just that it has very little light that passes through.
Mm-hmm.
If you put it up directly in front of bright light, like I am in front of my computer screen, you can see that the coloration is pretty light.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to put that in front of the light because as soon as you do that, it looks like the drink that the doctor makes in the second Ninja Turtles movie. When they have to drink it. Okay, well, it looks like this, which is kind of like, I mean, it's a pukey color if we're being honest.
It is. It's got a nice head to it, as most wheat beers tend to. Smells delightful, yeasty, weedy.
Yeah, those are not my two favorite words. All right. Shall we give this a taste?
Yeah, sure.
Cheers. That was I need something better. Hang on.
I got it.
Wait, what was this noise? I'll take that.
Oh, I had a bottle.
Nice.
I had a bottle.
That's good. And here's why. Yeah, I generally don't care for these. But I like this.
I do, and this is the right weather for it. Actually, it's probably even a smidge too hot for it. I believe most the wheat beers are more supposed to be like spring becoming summer. Or summer becoming fall, one of those two.
That's got a lot of nice flavor to it.
It does.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, there's things that there's two flavors that I really don't love in beer, and that is like whenever I get that Belgian-y flavor, which we've talked about in the past. I don't know what.
Sorry, what flavor you kind of cut out on me?
Oh, sorry, that Belgian-y flavor.
Oh,
and yeah, that's not here.
Typically, that's okay.
And then this like Weizen flavor that like what these beers are. I generally don't care for it, but this is better than usual.
This is from the old country, so
that's probably why. Especially when you're gonna put the law right there on the can.
Its tradition is since 1627, so they've been perfecting this for a long time.
They've been doing some stuff.
Yeah, it's nearly 400 years old. Yeah.
Just 400?
Also, it's, no. Well, no, sorry, I guess it's what, 390 rather? Something like that?
I gotta say, yeah, because for that reason alone, the Weizens, when you gave me this care package, this was the one I was least looking forward to. But
nice.
I'm enjoying it thoroughly. So
I'm glad we've exceeded expectations.
I know I can always count on you.
At
least for beer. Your last movie pick was atrocious.
I didn't recommend it because I thought it was a good movie. I was curious to see it, and since I saw it, and we plan on doing it for the show,
I know.
I made sure to let you know to see it.
Right.
But this movie is a cleansing of the palate from last week.
Agreed. Well done.
Also, I love these like super classical like German like art on these cans.
There's like a coat of arms.
Yeah, it's got its coat of arms, and there's like wheat or barley stalks in the background. It's kind of a cool like green color.
It's a good vibe.
Really good beer.
Yeah, big fan. Well done, Al. Well done. You are appreciated. So
that's good to know.
You got a lot of news.
Actually, wait. Oh. Speaking of appreciation, let's dive in briefly to something that I brought to your attention yesterday. Yesterday. The fact that we have reviews on iTunes that I didn't know we had.
Yeah, that's cool. We should probably check in on those things every once in a while.
Well, the thing is, I typically just deal with the Spin Tune website.
Right.
And you deal with the SoundCloud stuff directly.
Yep. So
I don't check out our stuff on iTunes very often. And I saw that we had 2 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
From last fall. I wish I had been aware of that.
Right.
And we really appreciate that. So thank you kindly, those of you who reviewed us. Anyone who hasn't yet who would like to, it's good for us because
good or bad. Not going to discriminate. Would love the feedback.
Constructive criticism we appreciate. We love the feedback. And also the more we get reviewed, the more our stuff can grow and the more cool things we
exactly.
So help us help you.
Help me help you.
I thought that was cool. It just feels really real to see that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we have people that we've never met before or never talked to before who listen to us. We have friends and family who listen to us. It's cool to get people reaching out to us who we don't know.
Yeah.
Tell us how much they like our stuff.
I love that. It's great. It's funny. There's, we got friends and family that listen to it. And then there's like the ones that, you've shared it with that you expect, they're going to listen to it because they appreciate the same stuff we do. So yeah, they'll listen to it. And then there's like the occasional family or friend that is like, hey, listen to your show and I liked it. I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
It's getting around. Even though I didn't explicitly tell you it's there. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. But when you sent me that, you were like, we have reviews. And I read the reviews and I was like, what? And you said, I know.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Thank you. Oh, God. This is what next review. Stop slamming the damn table.
The first one actually wasn't that bad. When you followed it back up with another one, that one was much louder.
So to be clear, the first one was me accidentally tapping the table and not realizing I was close enough to hit it. And then I scared myself, pulled the glass back, realized I pulled it back too far, pushed it forward, and then slammed it into the table. Just for good measure. Oh my goodness. So you have a lot of news. I've got some news. How about, do you want to kick it off?
Sure.
All right, what do you got? Maybe you'll overlap with some of these and I could just cross them off.
So I have some hard news. I have some
hard news
musings of my own, and I have one thought experiment type conversation between the two of us. So
love it.
Why don't you tell me what you want to tackle first?
Let's start with the hard news.
Okay.
Sorry.
Some hard news. Ben Affleck could lose his Batman role due to post-rehab insurance costs, experts say. That's a story broken by The Wrap today.
Okay, yeah, I did see something about him probably not officially no longer being a part of it because of this, but I didn't read into it because I just
there's been a long running like rumors about this because of how this movie's kind of been in production hell. There's been some questions whether or not he was trying to negotiate his way out, this and that.
So he decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get wrecked so that I can't do this movie.
Well, what I didn't realize was that he's been to rehab twice, and he's now going for a third time, second in about a year's span.
Sheesh.
So that sort of thing causes, for big budget movies, they have to take out insurance policies on their stars, and it may be so very cost prohibitive that they'll try to negotiate him out of the role. And all the speculation about him leaving was kind of kicked off by that horrific press tour he did for either Batman vs Superman or Justice League. I forget which one. Mm-hmm. Remember that one that spawned a million gifs of him looking like he found out his puppy died?
Yeah.
When he was sitting next to Henry Cavill.
He was in that moment, said Batman.
Yes.
That's brutal. I mean, in most cases, I feel like people are quick to be like, oh, what do you have to be upset about? In all seriousness, wish people the best. People are always going through things, and you don't know what they are, so
yeah,
sorry to hear that.
I've been well documented for saying how much I don't like him in general and as an actor, but substance abuse issues are serious, so I don't wish him ill based on that. I wish him well. I hope he straightens his life out, but
yeah. Indeed.
And this also spawns one other little piece of news or rumors, I guess is probably more appropriate. There was a rumor circulating the last couple of days that Oscar Isaac was
joining the Joker, potentially.
Talks for the Batman movie.
Oh, sorry. I had this backwards. Yes, the Batman movie. I have something else about the Joker movie.
There was some people... there were some rumors, although more of it was just speculation and wishful thinking, that he may be in talks for the role of Batman himself.
Interesting.
Which, in conjunction with the story, would make sense, although that apparently has been shot down officially by the same person who broke the story. So.
Oh, well, you know what? Here's the thing. We've talked about this before. We're going to talk about it again, I'm sure, 600 more times before these movies come out. DC EU has hurt me. You told me, you said the words Batman, show me on the Batman doll where they touched you. You just said two things that should have made me ecstatic, right? You said the Batman and you said Oscar Isaac. But you put the two together and I'm like, what are they going to do to my boys now? So at this point, it's just whatever.
It's also supposedly, though, not true.
Not going to happen.
So, but I mean, I hate what they've been doing with DC. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if there was someone who was going to get me excited to be cast in the role, Oscar Isaac would be on the short list.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of his as an actor, so
for sure. But that's what I want. That's how I want to feel. But what I actually feel is, what are you going to do to him now? that's how I feel. The other news that came out in the same genre is on the Joker movie is that Alec Baldwin will be playing Thomas Wayne.
Yes.
And again, you say Joker, I should be very excited because I love the Joker. But I
hate that we're getting another Joker already.
Yeah.
Like, why?
There's so many villains.
Why are they doing Joker again? Why are they doing it with Joaquin Phoenix? I don't care about any of this.
And that's the thing. The Joker was done incredibly well the first time. When I say the first time, I mean 89. was done incredibly well. And against all odds, it was topped the next time it came around. Stop.
But the thing
you're good.
There was 20 years between those movies.
Yeah.
19 years. Now there's been like 7 years
19
since that,
minutes.
And now it's
been 19 minutes
like
out.
3. Yeah. So it's kind of the same stuff that I went through with Spider-Man, where I didn't like that they recast it with Andrew Garfield, and I didn't like that they recast it again. At least they did it right.
Yeah.
But that's looking at results over process. Mm-hmm. I hated the process.
Yeah, this at least it was more of a course correction getting into the hands of Marvel, but it was still too soon. But that being said, I loved Homecoming, and there's just so many Batman villains though that you can actually use, and you can, or ones that maybe you've done in the past that you can revisit because you can take a different, like similar to how you revisit a Joker or a Two-Face. Revisit Penguin. You could do something interesting with that character. Bring in Hugo Strange. That would be amazing. Do the Mr. Freeze from the comic. Like do something like that.
There was heavy rumors of someone to play the Penguin. Was it Josh Gad? Was that who it was?
I think so.
And that seemed to not have been a thing, or at least it didn't come to fruition. So whatever. But I mean, although Danny DeVito also did, I thought, a pretty good job. But not that I know a ton about the comic character, but that's actually one of the few things that I remember from that particular Batman movie. I'm not super well versed with the first two. I haven't seen them since I was fairly young.
He was gross and terrifying, and it was great.
Yes, I remember being creeped out by him as a kid.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens there. Again, we'll report on this stuff as it comes in, but I'm not getting excited.
No, I just thought that was an interesting cluster of stories.
Yeah. It is. There's surprising. There's drama around DCEU stuff that's happening. Great.
Oh no! Color me surprised.
What do you mean? Going back, revisiting something from last week, and the Bond news that we had talked about, where Danny Boyle had left the film. I was reading this article about the reasons why, and I would love to hear your take on this. One of the reasons, I'm sure there was more than one. One of the reasons that was
seemed like it was the biggest one.
The villain was one of the big ones. The other one, which from the article that I read, I took away as being the biggest, was that they wanted to kill Bond off at the end of the movie.
Oh, I hadn't heard
in a spectacular way, and he's like, "No, absolutely not. I will not do that." And then again, like you said, there was also issues with the villain. And it's just like, don't kill off Bond. Unless you're killing off Daniel Craig to kill him off and go back to the old ways of doing Bond, because as we know from last week, I appreciate the old versions of those movies way better. But,
I mean, to a certain extent, they've kept some of the old ways, namely keeping around an actor way too long to play Bond, a la Sean Connery. I forget which one it was, the last one that he did, but he wore so much makeup in that to make him not look like he was ancient, that he looked like he was like trying to wear makeup in the style of a woman.
Better idea. New James Bond movie. Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, who hasn't acted in anything in 10 years?
Yes. I'd watch that. I'd be immediately interested in that. I love him.
I mean, I do too, but no.
Now I just want to watch.
He was too old in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That movie is 15 years ago.
Yeah. But I just want to watch The Last Crusade now. So good. So good.
He's great in that.
Oh, he's fantastic. I absolutely love him. Anyway, that's some of the stuff going on with the Bond movie. Again, another thing that I don't really care too much about at this point.
This just reminded me, just you talking about doing old Connery reprising himself as old Bond now. Mm-hmm. I saw someone say, everyone, you know what needs to happen with the whole Batman stuff to get it onto the right path. We need to do a Batman Beyond movie, and we need to have Michael Keaton come back and play old Bruce Wayne.
I've heard that before, and I'm like 100% on board.
It's like, yeah, we've gotten to the right time. We could do that now. Yes.
Yeah. That would be amazing. And just flip it and be like, okay, this whole canon that we're doing sucks. Let's go back and revisit the late 80s, early 90s. I'd be on board. I also absolutely love my... You want to get nuts? Come on! I love that movie. What's your next... Do you have more hard news?
I wouldn't call it hard news, but it's news. Episode 9 casting news.
Okay.
So we didn't talk about it last week, although it might have been the day after we recorded last week. That's probably why. Dominic Monaghan has been cast in episode 9 in an unnamed role thus far.
That name sounds familiar. Who is that?
That is Mariotic Brandybuck from the Lord of the Rings movies, as well as
those characters by name. That's adorable.
Merry and Pippin.
Oh, thank you. See, thank you. That's all you have to say. I know who that is.
Shut up.
He's good.
Well, yes, he is, and friends with J.J. Abrams. He was one of the main characters on Lost, I think. So, at least for the first few seasons, I think. And just today, there was a story that I think it's Matthew Smith, one of the Doctor Who's, was just cast as well in episode 9. So
I heard that one. Cool. No info on the characters, though, right? On either of them.
Nothing thus far now.
Cool.
Although,
do you have speculations? Do you have wild speculations? Sorry, I got really excited. We haven't had them in a while.
Well, it's hard to because Abrams is back fully in charge, so Mystery Box is alive and well, and they've only been shooting for like 2 weeks. So, although I did see something today about rumors of revealing a new planet in set photos or something, but there was still very little to go on with that I didn't bother. So,
interesting.
I am curious.
So stay tuned for wild speculation. The thing is, the
wild
speculation
is going to have to wait because the movie still is not going to come out for another 14, 15 months,
something like that. So I don't know. Look for those in like 5 months.
Yeah, that's probably when they'll start to pick up.
Yeah, the thing is, you have to. It's like a bell curve, right? You can't have them too early because they're just absurd speculations, and like who cares? You can't have them too late because then they're just speculations we have enough to work with. You got to have it right in that sweet spot where you can say something absolutely absurd, but there is a chance that it can happen, and then if it does, you're a genius.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
What was all that 1 in a million talk? Dumb and Dumber so much.
On the topic of episode 9, though, I saw something going around on Twitter the last couple of days from some Star Wars fan account. Which I just found to be an interesting, entertaining thought experiment conversation type of thing. Especially since I think it was Chuck Wendig, who is an author who I think wrote one of the Star Wars novels since they started doing the new canon. And he put like a list of these ridiculous things, but some of them weren't that ridiculous, and I don't remember all of them, but one of them was one that I had already been saying to you shortly before Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi, or actually it might have been right after we saw it, that they need to give Rey a 2-bladed lightsaber. That's something I would love to see for the new one. But
staff saber,
or that something like that, because that's part of like who she was in her training, and it would make perfect sense to do it. And it would be a differentiation point. Even I know Maul did his, but like it's something that's fairly uncommon. So why not give her something unique? Considering she spent 2 movies with someone else's lightsaber that's old and iconic, give her something that makes it 100% her own. Mm-hmm. But that was the thought experiment thing. What's something you'd like to see in episode 9, or maybe multiple things?
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, I can't say Lando because that's going to be there.
Yes, confirmed.
Multiple things. Interesting. I want to see a time jump.
Yes, and I think that seems probable.
I don't know how probable it is, though, because unless it takes place during multiple time frames, because I want to see a significant time jump.
Well, it's not going to be 30 years.
But I don't think it's going to be 10 or 15 either.
No, I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere in the 1 to 5 range, and I'm fine with that.
as long as it's enough time. The thing is, I want, in this current state of affairs, right, in this new age of Star Wars, in this practical effects style for a lot of these things, and then all of the beauty that they're making these movies with, I want an insane Jedi battle. Just a crazy off the wall, people not that good at it. So I want people to be trained, but not that trained. We're just all hell's breaking loose on screen.
So you want like a barroom brawl type of Jedi battle.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And I want high stakes.
That are
not blow off a planet stakes, but something else.
So you want to recreate the Anakin in the temple scene, but with someone who's not Anakin entering the temple.
Maybe, but that was very one-sided. I don't want it to be one-sided.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was pretty unfair how much more skilled he was than all of them. That's what I'm saying. You like lower the difficulty setting.
Yeah, like I want that feel of like building the rebellion that you get in Rogue One, but you're building this Jedi Order again and fighting with passion because you believe that something is so right and like you can't stand by this terrible thing that's happening and you have to give it your all. And I want to see this whole I want to build up and a dramatic battle with all of this stuff going on. I think that would be really cool to see because I think they could pull it off today on screen really well.
Well, I think what we know of Abrams, he'll probably cleave a little closer to what traditionally Star Wars is going to hold, but I don't think he's going to completely undo everything that Rian Johnson did, because I think that they wouldn't have let him make that movie if they were going to plan on undoing it all.
Right.
So I think that they may hew a little bit more towards what quote-unquote people are expecting. So I don't think there's going to be a traditional new order, because that's a new Jedi Order, because that's kind of the whole point of what The Last Jedi was about.
Not traditional, but more...
I do think she's going to reach out and try and train people in the light side. I just don't think it's going to have a temple and the order and all the stuff that goes along with it.
No, not like that. I feel like it's going to be more like of an even thing, like dispersing this knowledge and helping people figure it out and like creating more teachers and other things like that. And I think because she has these books, I want to see more Jedi, and I want to see them not be that great.
Well, I'm picturing it being kind of something like the way that like an old school like traveling preacher would do. And that it'll like spawn little like guerrilla cells.
Yes.
Led by somewhat trained Jedis.
Right, which sets us up for like double crosses and crazy shit like that during these ridiculous battles that are going to happen towards the end of the movie. Now, when I say I want a ridiculous battle, here's the other thing. We've talked about this in the past. I'm not big on crazy action sequences anymore. I just want one really good one at the end. So I want a lot of build-up that is a crescendo into this crazy action sequence that really drives the point home. That we're going to get anyway. That's just the Star Wars formula.
Yeah. I don't know. I get what you're saying about the big action sequence stuff. I do appreciate it when it's executed in a cool or inventive way.
Right, but I want there to be meaning behind the battle.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Just building up to this is a big battle. No, like you have to have stakes, obviously.
It's Act 1. We're on top of the world. Act 2. How are we going to do this? Act 3. Kill them all. Like that's we don't need that again. But yeah, it's just I want to see. Like I said, I just want to see a lot of not greatly trained Jedis or Jedis in training.
I'll tell you,
fighting for honor and life and all that good stuff.
The biggest thing to me, from my perspective, since I was thinking about this, is I've already told you what my kind of theory on how they're going to tackle Rey and Ben. I think it would make sense for the two of them to both die at the end of the next one. Because of the whole discussion we've had on the balancing of the Force and everything.
Yep.
And how if one of them survives or if one of them turns the other, that would throw everything so far out of balance. Whether or not they actually fully act on that, because you can play with the scales and the arguments of it all. If the Knights of Ren come back around right, then that's how you would balance it if she's training people on the light side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To me, I think it's super important that Ben does not get to redeem himself.
I agree. I don't want that to be the case either.
He doesn't get to have a Darth Vader moment like at the end of his life. He has chosen it out of.
He's figured out emotional manipulation, and we find out in those final moments of how evil he really is that scene with his father was him emotionally manipulating his father and things like that, where every action that he's taken in the past 2 movies are pure evil. That would be awesome.
I understand what you're saying about emotional manipulation, but I don't even necessarily.
It doesn't have to be that for you.
It doesn't have to be. I can see the argument for it, and maybe there's an element of it, but I do think it came down to that was his moment to choose, and he chose.
That could be cool too, and that's probably more likely what will happen. But
what I'm saying is, I think now the whole thing with the thing is, it's the scene with Rey. That is 100% manipulation. You're right about that. But I think that Darth Vader was a tragic figure.
Mm-hmm.
He is not.
No. He's a whiny bitch.
The point is, it's been a series of choices, and he's had opportunities to turn off this path.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. I really like you said. I agree with that. I don't want to see him redeem himself at all. That would be just too much of the old. I was just gonna say something else that I wanted from this. I lost it. It's gone. If it comes back to me, I'll one more thing, and that is that I want my theory to be proven true. I want the Master Codebreaker to have actually been Lando, and us to find that out in the next movie.
Well, I suppose
that to be the case.
The first stage of that theory has come to fruition because Lando's back.
Right, 100%. And Maz Kanata is obviously going to have to come back in some way because like they're not just going to leave her off there on the side. But she's going to be like, this isn't the guy that you were talking to? Because this is who I was sent. Like, that's all you got to do. This is who
they never ended up talking to the guy that she even told them to, allegedly, so.
Mm-hmm. And I want him to have lost his flower in the bet. That's all I want. It's very simple. It fits. It would be great. It's just what I want to see. It's just what I want to see. I just want to be right about this so bad. Because I've been saying it so early on that it was like my theory first, no matter what. So I'm very excited about this, and I want it to be the case. Anyway, that's what I'm hoping for. Was there anything else on that topic?
Nope, that's everything for that for now.
Let's talk about this Ethan Hawke guy.
Okay, what about him?
Have you heard this this quote from him?
Something about superhero movies?
Yeah. So it's one quote that really bothers me, and I understand where he's going with it, and I understand his point of view for some of it.
I just saw that he had a quote. I just didn't care enough to look at it.
The quote is paraphrasing, Logan isn't a great movie. It's a great superhero movie, something like that.
It's both.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Agreed. And his problem was that too much of, and what he's driving at is that there's too much stuff that you're not going to get to see because it's not put in front of you because everything else is pushed so hard by advertising and things like that. Superhero movies are so popular, they're front and center, they're big blockbuster hits. And he's talking about how he can scroll through, I think he says he can like scroll through iTunes, and let me see if I can find the quote. Here's one of the quotes. I'm always astonished, I'm sure you are too. You can go on Apple TV now and see that Joaquin Phoenix and Gwyneth Paltrow made a movie together that I never heard of. What? And like Matt Damon and Clint Eastwood movie I never heard of. And that's a weird argument to me.
Mostly because that's been going on for like 50 years.
That, and also, I feel like there's different types of people that watch movies. There are people that watch it for the art. There are people that watch it simply to be entertained. There are people that land somewhere in the middle. That's us. I believe that's us. That's the perspective.
I think that we fit into both categories when we choose to. We have the ability to wear different hats.
Right. And like us, and who I imagine listeners of this show, you can look at it through either lens, but you're there to enjoy it. You're there to enjoy your time at the movies.
The other thing is I don't love this hand-wringing thing, and we're all prisoners of the moment at different times. Like, it happens to all of us. Mm-hmm. It's kind of human nature, but there's always been an evolution of what is in at any given time. And if you look at those sorts of arguments during any of the different discrete ages of cinema, there's always some sort of woe is me thing like that.
Yeah.
But taste always changes. I mean, how many people decried all the shitty big budget blockbuster movies of the 80s and 90s as this is the end of cinema and stuff like that? Sure. And instead, it wasn't. I mean, I guess if you want to say that there's been more of a crowding out of the middle class of movie, we've actually talked about that on the show here. But kind of like the Heath Ledger Joker said, like, we deserved a better class of action movie, and that's mostly what we're getting now. Mm-hmm. Something like Logan could not and would not have been made in the 90s.
Right, and we're gonna circle back to Logan in a second, because we do have to talk about that just a little bit more, and pull that quote apart. But one of the things that I really want to drive home here is, I think the opposite of this. I don't think that we're actually being harmed by these things being surfaced to us, like these superhero movies being blockbuster hits and things like that. Today, more than any other time in history of movies, we have immediate access to things that we would have never heard of before.
See, funny that you should say that, because I have a very specific example of why you're wrong about that right now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So watching this week's movie was such a struggle for me. Okay. I've seen this movie before once or twice, but it's been a while. So I wanted to refresh my memory before we did this. Sure. So you shared the movie with me through our server online. It took me 45 minutes on Sunday to try and watch the first 15 minutes of the movie. Mm-hmm. I gave up because it stopped working. And then I started watching it last night, and I saw approximately 3 more minutes of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then I went to look for completely other ways to watch the movie last night, and I literally couldn't even find a place online to pay for the movie.
No way.
I got to the point where I was like, I am willing to pay several dollars to watch this movie right now. And Amazon Prime had it on it, and I was like, oh, great. Let me rent it from Prime or buy it on Prime. Went to click on it. It says, this movie's unavailable right now. I was like, you're losing me here.
Well, okay, that is not the same. That's not a counter argument, though, to what I said, though.
I said it's a very specific one because it just so happened to happen to me right now.
Sure.
I went through several hours of work trying to find this fucking movie.
Yeah.
And whether it be paid or not paid, like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, iTunes, could not find access to it, even if I wanted to hand them my money.
Right.
And eventually I finally found a way to watch it that was somewhat less than legal. So,
well, and that's fine. And that's
even that was
different, though. That's an older movie that's an archive problem. That's something for whatever reason, there was no quick access to it, whether it was a licensing thing or just nobody has it available or it wasn't popular enough to be available on something immediately is one thing. And sure, we're not going to be able, not just yet, we're not able to just get anything that we want whenever. But right now, I can find 1,000 indie movies, that's not an exaggeration, that I've never heard of, and I could read synopses on them, and I could watch them immediately on probably over 100 different streaming services.
That's true.
And I'm just calling you out on that bullshit, because 10 years ago, you would have never heard of, and you would have never seen those movies.
Yes. I mean, there is definitely an argument to be made for the lower and middle class of movies being crowded out at the box office. But if you desire to see a movie, you can find something other than just the big blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
Fairly easily.
Very easily.
In my case, it was one specific movie I was having trouble finding, but I could have found many other movies in the same vein as that fairly easily. In fact, I did. The happy conclusion to Sunday night, I was like, oh, this would be something that Gianna might enjoy watching with me. She had one of her friends over. They're like, yeah, let's watch this. This sounds fun. Couldn't watch the movie. I was like, okay, let's find something on Netflix then. And we found another high school comedy type movie that was brand new on Netflix and is getting some hype. They wanted to watch it. I was like, okay, why the hell not? It was that movie, To All the Boys I've Loved Before or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's getting some hype online, and it was actually pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a little bit difficult sometimes. For example, earlier today, Kim and I wanted to watch something, and we just couldn't find it, and that was a little frustrating. So we're in a time right now where finding something specific that you want to watch is I don't think it's any harder or necessarily better than before.
No, because 20 years ago, if you were trying to do the thing I was doing last night, it would have been you driving to 15 different blockbusters.
Right, exactly. And that's, we're done with that.
I vented my frustration on my computer screen.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the car driving to multiple locations.
Right. So, but the difference is today, what you can do, and you can do every hour of the day, is think of a style of movie that you want to watch and find that. You will find that. If you want a romantic comedy, that's kind of dark and probably has a weird, nasty twist at the end, like that's very specific, right? You could probably find that pretty easily on Netflix. Or again, I'm not just saying Netflix. Netflix is, in my opinion, the biggest player because it's the most accessible one.
Well, not only that, but in this like exact conversation, you're basically using Netflix the way people use Kleenex to talk about tissues, Netflix and its ilk, like anything.
That's right. But that's the crazy thing is that there are so many free services out there that you can watch random crap on.
Yes,
and I say random crap. I don't mean crap. Like you can find random anything. Like there's random free services on Roku, for example. There's plenty of apps on that app store.
My search last night led me to download Crackle, and I was not able to find the movie on there. But there was a bunch of other movies on there.
Right, exactly. And
movies that I was aware of, movies that I have seen and have not seen.
So I disagree with you, Ethan Hawke. And I think that it's on, if you can watch what you want to watch, more so now than ever. And I just take issue with that statement.
You know, when I hear stuff like that, I always think, Ethan, are you jealous because no one's ever called you to be a star of a superhero movie?
Ethan, you have a smart TV. But he does because he talks about Apple TV. That's actually pretty funny. He's just you come to find out that he's just bitter. Like he was up for Logan for whatever reason, like for some role in it, and he just didn't get it. But so circling back to Logan and why that statement bothers me a lot. There's a lot of things that happen in Logan. We have a Logan episode. Go back and listen to it if you're interested. We both thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
That was one of our first episodes. It was like our fifth episode.
Yeah. And Logan is fantastic, and there's a lot of great things about it, whether it's the writing, whether it's the acting, the delivery, cinematography. It's all great. There's a lot of great things there. Sure, it has its issues. There's little things here and there, but on this show, we don't really focus we try to focus on the positive, I find, which is great because there's so much stuff out there that focuses on the negative. So you can come to us for that. But what about that little girl? This is the thing I want to focus on. She was tremendous in that movie. So
not just that, but like you can't even make an argument like that is 100% the wrong movie to choose because like
it is
a certifiably good movie in its own right if you take superheroes out of the equation.
Yeah,
like you said, writing, direction, acting, cinematography, like it is a bona fide good movie. And great movie.
Here's another quote that makes me concerned about his authority to talk about this movie. He says, "Now we have the problem that they tell us Logan is a great movie. Well, it's a great superhero movie," he said. "It still involves people in tights with metal coming out of their hands." One of those things is not true.
There was no tights.
That's why I'm just like, where is all this hate coming from? And now here's the thing. This article could be skewed. It could be coming off the wrong way because it is very paraphrased, this whole thing. honestly,
it sounds like some of that is direct quote. Like direct quote is direct quote.
Those two are direct quotes. I have a feeling that there's a break in there, the way that it's said, that it didn't come straight across that way. Then again, this is also, unfortunately, I pulled this up in 3 different places, and the last one that I had open was unfortunately Fox News, so that's where this particular one is coming from. So I don't really give.
No, but that was just an aggregation. I saw that story today too. It got picked up by a bunch of.
That's what I'm saying. So. I've seen it in multiple places, but I opened up one right before the show from a list in the Flipboard, and this is the one that opened up. But like I said, it's all there. A lot of the people were trying to explain the point that he's making, which we did bring up, but I have my counter argument still stands, and I just thought it was interesting. But I do take a big issue with saying that Logan is not a solid movie on its own merits.
Well, the thing is, like based on the one that he chose, like did you see the movie?
Right.
Like Ethan Hawke, did you watch that movie? Because if you did, you picked the wrong. There are examples of what you're trying to argue. You chose the wrong one, so you lose some credibility with me.
You know what's funny? Maybe
if you picked Justice League or something, I'd totally get behind you. Like I get it.
No, but that he's not. He's talking specifically about a movie that is praised very highly, but is a superhero movie. Some
people praised that movie.
Well, here's the interesting thing. What would you think that if he made this statement about Black Panther instead of Logan?
He'd still be wrong.
He would be wrong, but I think I could see a little bit more of what he's talking about, because Black Panther is.
Well, in that case, they did have the tights and everything, but
right, but it's very much it's an evolution of the modern superhero movie to a very they really got the formula down for this movie.
Yes, Black Panther is more closely linked to a true blue superhero movie. Logan is very much less that.
Right. Logan is we've talked about, it's a Western. It's just like this crazy going off into the sunset movie. It's not with superhero characters in it.
Yeah. But even that,
it's just the wrong choice. It's not the right movie to use.
Minimum, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's kind of the point. Like the mutants are dying off, and this is the new wave of them creating this. I don't know. It's whatever. We're not going to get too much further into that. Logan's a great movie all around. I stand by that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it on that. I was curious what your take is. It sounds like you're pretty much on the same page as me.
Yep.
Do you want to take over from here? You want to take something?
Sure. Do you have any more news?
I've got 2 more things. One we can potentially skip depending on how long we go.
Okay. I have two general conversation pieces, although one of them is based on an article that I stumbled on from last week on AV Club, and let's do that one first.
Okay.
The headline of this story is: the creators of the Nintendo 64 GoldenEye have officially ruled that Oddjob is cheating.
I saw that.
And I know that you were a huge GoldenEye fan. I was a pretty big GoldenEye fan, but not having an N64, obviously, I wasn't quite as big of one as you.
Sure.
But yeah, it was funny. It was just they interviewed a couple of people who made the thing, and it was kind of part of a larger piece about the making of the movie of the game and how it walked a very fine line to having been another forgettable movie tie-in game, and instead is probably the most influential shooter of the last 25 years.
Which is hysterical because it came out way later than the movie, if I remember correctly. Like a year or two later.
Yeah, it came out in 1997.
Right.
And I believe, actually, wasn't that movie 95?
I think so.
It's a weird split for a movie tie-in.
Oh well, yeah, they took the time to make the game.
Well, but the thing is, the reason that people remember that game is because of the multiplayer, and that was really late in the development of the game. They almost didn't do one.
Yeah.
And the missions on that game are pretty fun on their own.
Oh yeah. But I played so many hours of that game, it's ridiculous.
But this would not have had the staying power and the fully enter the zeitgeist like this if it wasn't for the multiplayer. And I just thought that was funny. Everyone had their own personal rules, like their house rules, and they mentioned that, for a certain demographic, this is the leading paragraph to the story. For a certain demographic, GoldenEye 007's multiplayer mode is imprinted on the mind. Say the word facility, or if you're the neighborhood bozo faculty, and a flood of low-res gray and blue tiles
That's so spot on.
Conjured. Mention slappers only, and the body tenses in anticipation of a frantic karate chopping melee between swish-faced versions of James Bond characters. Yep. GoldenEye multiplayer was a staple. The best reason to contort hands around the torturous plastic trident of an N64 controller for hours on it.
This is really well written. That's so great. That's really funny because, like, at the same time, it's like, that's great that they put this out, but after you think, oh, that's so funny that they actually said that, you're also like, but yeah, we know. Odd Job was cheating because it was ubiquitous. Like when you played the game, it was like no Odd Jobs.
Yes,
and if somebody picked it, you're like, oh, you've never played GoldenEye before. You can't use him. And it's really funny because the reason that thing is broken, that Odd Job is broken, is the aiming mechanic in that game. If
it had an assist, right?
It did have an assist because you needed it at that point. But the way that, and this is why a lot of people struggled with Chris, I don't know if you know this, he struggles with the current default controls of shooters, where the right stick aims and the left stick moves the feet. You go forward, backward, strafe, left, and right. That's what the left stick is for.
That's been everything since like 2000.
Halo, I feel like, and maybe a few things before that probably.
That was the first big main thing that everyone played that had it. Yes, Halo, right. The original Halo Combat Evolved. Yeah,
and people like Chris were stuck on legacy controls for the longest time because they were familiar with GoldenEye. Now, the way that worked was the left stick moved you forward, backward, and controlled your upper waist left and right. You can this way you were able, because there was only one stick.
There was no strafe. It was turn left, turn right.
Right. And you could strafe. You had to use the C buttons. It was very weird.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a stick strafe. That's what
right. It was very silly. But here's where this gets interesting, though. The key to this is because there is no right stick, you can't look up and down. You had to use the C buttons to look up and down, which is why Odd Job is impossible to hit because you are not taking your thumb over to the C button because the C buttons were placed on the other side of the globe.
Torturous piece of trident plastic was a pretty excellent.
It was great.
Sentence.
Yeah, that was well crafted. But that's just so funny.
This paragraph sums it up. The rest is history. Rare is the name of the developer. Well, that wasn't for you. I figured you knew that. Avoided the grim reality of a world.
I forgot other people are listening.
Yes, it's easy to do that. Of a world devoid of entire summer days, annihilated at the altar of GoldenEye multiplayer, and ushered in fights aplenty with the jerks who picked Goldfinger's diminutive dapper assassin, Odd Job, as their character. Yeah. On this last point, the interviews are completely clear. It's definitely cheating to play as Odd Job, according to GoldenEye's gameplay and engine programmer Mark Edmonds. We could have put something in to stop this blatant cheating, but why not just let players figure out or decide on their own rules?
That's great. I'm glad that you came across that as well.
You should definitely put that story in the Flipboard.
Yeah, that's a good call. You want to send me that link? I will absolutely do that.
I'm going to drop it in the outro for you.
Wonderful. Moving on, I've got another funny one here, one that I don't want to skip. This is from High Snobiety, which is a great name for a website. Love it. The article is titled, "Picture of Keanu Reeves going ham on a horse is taking Twitter by storm."
I saw the picture, and already I have seen it being made into all sorts of memes. So.
Right, and that's what this article is. It's an aggregation of all of these amazing tweets. So I'm just going to read some of them for you. You can look up the picture pretty quickly, I'm sure, if you just Google Keanu Reeves on a horse. But
I think if you just Google Keanu Reeves, you'll find it because it's been all over for the last few hours, and by the time you guys listen to this, it will have invaded your life.
So one of the main pictures I can just describe this very easily for you is horse, Keanu Reeves as John Wick on the horse, pointing a gun off to the side at someone's head who is on a motorcycle. That's one of the main ones here. And I'm just going to read you some of these tweets because they're amazing. This one is from @FadeToZach. John Wick 3 is already the best movie of all time.
I think that was the first time I saw the pictures. I think I saw that tweet.
then there is one that he wrote on top of it. It's on John Wick. It says me. On the horse, it says the horse I rode in here on. And the guy, it says someone that said fuck you and the horse you rode in here on, which is just excellent. And then his tweet says, just go ahead and hold my calls until John Wick 3.
That's good. That's pretty meta.
Absolutely beautiful. I'm ecstatic to learn John Wick 3 takes place at medieval times. Turns out John Wick 3 is an episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic that I always wanted.
Wow.
But we're excited for this. If you listen to the show, you know that. We absolutely love John Wick. Can't wait to see this third one. I feel like from the minute it goes from the black screen into the movie, it's just going to be chaos. I feel like this might be the opening scene of the movie, which, I mean, that wouldn't be too far off from the last one.
I mean, I would love to know the context of him riding that horse down a city street, popping sons of bitches in the head with a gun.
Do that classic movie thing where you're trying to make something so much more serious than it needs to be. So he's riding on the horse, right? He shoots all these people. It's black screen. It's like, no, how did we get here? Like, do one of those.
No, I'm picturing like playing against type. I want them to be playing horse with no name.
Yeah.
As he's riding through the streets shooting people on a horse.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Can't wait for John Wick 3. I'm going to skip the last story that I had here, which was just upcoming fall flicks. That'll just be a natural part of this show as fall carries on. So you had some more stuff that you wanted to go over?
Just one other thing.
Okay. What do you got?
We've talked a decent amount on here about some of the frustrations of The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Oh,
and how
God. Have we?
How a lot of the show and a lot of the episodes, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I watched an episode of TV last night from this little show called Better Call Saul. You may have heard of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Which I think I said on air last week is the current leader in the clubhouse for best show currently on TV. Last night's episode was largely from a plot standpoint about absolutely nothing. It's one of those holding pattern episodes. One might call it a character study episode.
Right. That's what you say to defend it.
It was still a very good episode of television. Which just shows you that if you know what you're doing and you know how to write, you can do that.
Yeah. How many minutes were close-up face shots?
Well,
none.
I know you don't watch Saul, but you watch Breaking Bad, and
I watched like a season or two of Saul. I do like it. I just have to go back and finish it.
Well, meaning you know how the show works.
Yeah.
So there's often montages where you're not sure what's going to happen until it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And they shoot from curious angles. There was no more or less of it than you would expect in any other. Actually, there was like a full-blown shootout in this episode, which you never really see in those shows, especially Saul.
Mm-hmm.
But really, largely, the plot was fairly light in this episode as far as like the central story. And I did not feel like I wasted my time having watched the episode.
That's good to hear.
Which, when you think about how many episodes ostensibly have a decent amount of plot in The Walking Dead, that I do feel like I wasted my time watching, just goes to show you how far that show has fallen and what what really good television still looks like.
I just love that you get that story. Andrew Lincoln's leaving Walking Dead, and you're like, yeah, that sounds
right. I read that story, and I was like, I should probably leave too.
Yeah, right. Well, if everybody else is going, I'll see myself out.
He gets paid millions of dollars, and he's walking away from it.
He's the first person to leave the party, and you realize, oh, it's okay to leave too.
I get paid $0, and I haven't left. And you know what? Let's make a pact. When him and Lauren Cohen leave, I'm going to leave too.
Okay. I'll be here to continue to complain about it because I'm stuck.
Well, because largely, I've said the same thing, but largely the only reason I stay is because I've invested so much time in carrying into these characters. If those characters aren't there anymore, then why am I going to stay around if the show's not good anymore?
But the thing is, they've nailed the fact that it's now turned into a train wreck, and I can't look away. I need to see how bad is this really gonna get, and then it's like, wow, we are 30 minutes in, and the camera is still up his nose. Like I can't let go of this. If you go back and watch the last season of The Walking Dead, and you put a montage together of all the clips that were up someone's nose, you got about 30, 40 minutes of footage. It's ridiculous. There was like a whole opening before the credits roll that was just that. And they did fade transitions between different people's nostrils. It's bad. It's real bad. It made me so mad. I took a picture of it and I posted it out. It's absurd. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still gonna watch it. I watched that show Into the Ground, but not with AMC commercials. That's not a thing anymore.
Well, I do it too because I refuse. I don't watch it on Sunday nights anymore.
Absolutely not. No, you can't watch the show live.
One half season airs during football season anyway, and that's supposedly that's typically the one of the best games of the week is Sunday night. Mm-hmm. So I just watch that, and then at some point during the week I get around to watching it. So I fast forward through anything that I don't want to see, which sometimes is actual runtime.
Right. The last season of that was a Monday night show for me for sure. Man, that's so frustrating. Can we move on to something happier?
Yeah, let's move on to the movie.
Oh yeah, man, get over it. I'm so glad you brought this one to light because
let's give credit where credit's due. This was a listener recommendation.
Right.
It is a movie I had seen before, but I would not have pitched it for the show, except that I was pushed by a listener. So
to be clear, your suggestions work. Send those to flixandasix@spintune.com. Carry on.
So anyway, it's a movie that I enjoyed. It wasn't one that I necessarily would have thought to do for the show, but I definitely don't regret having the opportunity to sit back down and watch it again, no matter how tortured that process was. Because it's a funny movie. I mean, I wouldn't call it a classically good movie.
No, but it's a classic of this type of movie.
Yes, it is a very good example of this particular genre of movie, of which I have watched many, and I'm sure many of you have watched.
Absolutely.
Because it's a fun type of movie to watch.
And here's the thing. I think I've probably said this before, and I'm sure I've heard other people say that they watch that these types of movies are a guilty pleasure of theirs. No. There's no guilt.
Guilty pleasure.
No guilt. Because this is super entertaining. Just enjoy it and own it. Because I do from now on. This is not a guilty pleasure. This is the type of movie that I absolutely love.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's a not so guilty pleasure. How about that?
There you go. I'll take that. That's a happy balance. So this is just.
I only say that because there is like more classically good iterations of this, like a John Hughes type of movie or like a Superbad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is up there. It's very entertaining. It's not like as good as in my opinion, it's not as good as a She's All That or 10 Things I Hate About You or things that I love. Because 10 Things I Hate About You is probably my the top of that list for me for these types of movies because I absolutely love that movie. But
I never saw that.
Oh well, we'll have to make that happen. But this is. It's just a 90s style high school flick. And
even more so, it's because this movie was 2001. It was very that 1999 to like 2002, 2003 like bracket of time. But this is that to a T. Although it does have some callbacks to slightly older movies.
And it's great. I love that because of my first poll that I wrote, like I think 20 minutes into the movie was, this has all the hallmarks of a 90s flick. It was made in 2000. It has glow sticks and absurd CG and Coolio. Like for 2.5 seconds. I'm not even certain he has a line. He just goes like, what? And that's it.
So brief that at first I wasn't sure it was him, even though they said his name, because they said his name kind of trailing off.
Yeah.
And like that's the only reference to the fact that it's him.
Yeah.
So it's almost one of those things that like you have to know it's him to know it's him. You know what I mean? Like
it's so, you know what, and that's the great thing about these like the early 2000 like high school style movies is that at that point they've kind of mastered the 90s high school movie formula that they've been going for.
Yes.
And they have like they understand what works. So I feel like in the 2000 range they're more polished.
Yes.
As polished would go for a flick like this. But it's so entertaining.
Stuff like thing like where him like screaming no as like the screen is like blowing out away from his face, like stuff like that. Like that is 100% of that time.
Exactly, and it's so much fun. It's feel good. It's entertaining. It's hysterical at times. Like there's just
also a very cool snapshot of a particular time where this is a loaded cast, but most of them weren't actually famous yet. Like Kirsten Dunst was already pretty well known at that point, I guess, but still not super famous.
Yeah,
because it was still another year until the first Spider-Man came out. And most of those like kids like.
Well, let's go over that list. We've got Kirsten Dunst. We have Ben Foster, who I recognize from a few things here. I'm gonna pull him up because I'm not sure. Alpha Dog is one of the ones that I'm thinking of. Yeah,
he was in the Mechanic remake with Jason Statham.
Okay, and he's good. He's in there's a lot of older things that he's in like during that time or younger. That I just like when I looked him up, I was like, this guy looks familiar, and I looked him up and I saw him now. And I was like, oh, he aged well. Like because he was like super geeky nerd in this movie, or like in this movie.
Well, he was in. I think he was in Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah. So who else do we have here?
Shane West, Colin Hanks. I guess was kind of known-ish at this time. I guess maybe was this? I think a year before Orange County, which I think kind of put him more on the map. But also, he's Tom Hanks' son, so
right. Zoe Saldana
was no one at that point.
Right.
Mila Kunis was no one. She wasn't Meg yet.
Right. Yeah. When does and how far in advance of that 70 show is this?
That is a question that I do not have the answer to because I am not a fan of that show.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because I'm curious. When did that 70 show first air? And while that's loading, let's continue down this list. What else do we got here? Cisco?
Yes, which that's a hysterical inclusion into this whole thing.
Oh. Actually, she was already on that 70 show.
Was she?
It started in 98.
I didn't realize it was that old.
Holy moly, that show started in 98. Good lord. That's insane. I enjoyed that show. I know you said you weren't a fan, but I had fun with that. Coolio, before you expand the cast list, Coolio is on it. I just want to point that out.
As is Vitamin C.
Right. Which, let's talk about that for a second. That opening sequence after he's dumped. And they just come out of the garage. Like, you hear the music start to play, and then you're like, oh no, it's playing live behind him as they come down the street. And you have the classic 90s high school style of the actual music being played on screen. That
was definitely, although not even high school style per se, because when I think of that sort of thing, the first thing that comes to mind is Something About Mary.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, what a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I love that movie. It's so funny. But yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what that was. And it was just they absolutely kill it. It also has some of the like the hallmarks of those movies, such as the rooftop serenade that is obviously not sweet at all and absolutely terrifying. After Allison breaks up with him and he goes to her house and he's standing on the roof and he's like singing into her window and his two friends are just
singing Allison.
Yeah, and his two friends are right underneath the garage, just like, no.
The commentary is great, and when he says he sings "My aim is true," and then 2 seconds later falls off the thing, and off screen you hear "Your aim sucks."
It's so silly, and if to make it to even more put that 90s brand on it. Like I said, I'm well aware this movie was a 2001 movie. It's a 90s movie though. When he's on stage doing his audition, and he does the big red jingle, amazing, absolutely amazing, gets the crowd roaring. Now,
incredible, inspired song choice.
Yeah, it's wonderful. But I just love that, and then everybody joins in. It's like, yeah, back then you all know everybody knows the lyrics to that song. That's how ingrained it was in your memory. Now, Martin Short though
steals the show whenever he's on screen.
Absolutely, and he's hysterical, and he's awful in every way. he's just the absolute worst, but he's so funny.
Yeah, no, he's very underrated in general.
He kills me. I find him to be hysterical. The thing is, he is a great supporting character because you really can't take too much of that. Because if you overdo it, it just gets old quick.
Mm-hmm.
And just those little doses here and there throughout the movie just make it like you're like, oh god, what is this? What is this guy gonna say next? Like, what's this thing now? And then it's something absurd, obviously. And he has the most ridiculous name, which I think was what I called you earlier, Dr. Desmond Forrest Oates. What is that?
I wrote this song for Diana Ross, actually.
Yeah. Bobby De Niro once told me, well, he said it in an interview that I read, that so silly. And he's kind of like, he's a play director or a school play director, and he's absolutely terrible. And this is like his last shot.
Oh my god, I'm gonna be directing stage productions by homeless people in the streets.
That was so ridiculous. So we have that the douchey guy with the accent that is Stryker, thank you, with the fake accent that finally gets called out like halfway through the movie, which I think is great.
Well, he was called out at the very beginning when he says he's got like a Madonna thing going on.
Yeah.
Wait, she's here. Who, Madonna?
On that note, one of my favorite parts, because of his like whole boy band scene that he was in, and the main character goes, "I think I could take this Backstreet bitch." And that's another thing. There's some just very silly lines in it. And on top of all of this, it's there's a high school play going on. That's like the main premise is like they're all trying to get onto the play. The main character is getting into the play so that he can kind of thwart this guy that is now courting his ex-girlfriend. But
that was kind of what I said to the girls to get them to watch the movie. It's like it was basically a High School Musical before High School Musical was a thing, and also better.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
And what you get out of that is, in the end, you do get the play, which is that's the best, because the music, when you start listening to the ridiculous lyrics, it's hysterical.
Oh my god!
The final, like the finale of this movie, like the whole third act during the play is hysterical.
If you didn't get a chance to, if you hadn't figured out that the play that they're doing and that the movie itself is loosely based on is A Midsummer's Night's Dream. A Midsummer's Night's Dream, but he called it A Midsummer's Rocking.
Yep, something like that.
Or something like that. Rocking is in the title of the production.
A Midsummer's Rockin' Dream, A Midsummer Rock and Roll. I forget what it was called. But
I think it was like A Midsummer's like Rocking Dream or something like that. Or
and then when it opens up, it's just like this. It's like this absurd song that does not fit the tone of the play, but it makes it that much more fun.
Yes.
And it has, again, when we're talking about like the hallmarks of these types of movie, there's that one character, the Kirsten Dunst character, who is just a professional songwriter in high school. She's just like incredible at songwriting.
Well, it was a low bar to clear because he clearly wasn't very professional.
Right. No, I know, but like it's so high quality production. Like they don't even try to make it just okay. Like it's way better than it should be. Like to really prove a point. And like this is the other thing that I love about these high school movies is I feel like when they're written and created, it's just certain things that you remember from those times. So you're still so out of touch with what things were really like when you were in high school. It's like they act and do things that full-fledged adults do. And
yeah, I mean, I've never heard of a high school where everyone at the school was going to the same nightclub together.
Right. Right. Or going to a strip club where they're not of age. Going
to a strip club or allowing the crew of high schoolers to work with pyrotechnics unsupervised.
Yep. And I think everybody's driving, even though the cast is a mix between like sophomores and seniors.
Yes.
It's so silly. Like that's like one of those things where I feel like you don't pay too much attention to that. You don't really care. It's just a funny thing to note when you're thinking back on it. Now,
or the fact that like most of them looked roughly high school age, but Melissa Sage Miller had the whole Olivia Newton-John, Stockard Channing, clearly she's 35, even though she's playing a senior in high school.
Yeah. Oh my god. What? It's so silly. The parents.
Oh yeah. First of all, Ed Begley is like Martin Short, criminally underrated supporting actor in like everything. He's hysterical.
Always funny.
Like playing cool dad, and I think I've seen the mother and stuff too. I just can't.
Same.
Liar, liar. She was the lawyer.
Yes. What is it? What's that great line from it? Overactor in the post credits.
Yes. No, the two of them are great as his parents, and like the fact that they're like trying so hard to be like cool mom and cool dad, and like oh, you should have told us you were having a party. We would have ordered pizzas.
Yeah. So like of all the,
he's like, you shouldn't trust me. Like I had a party with my parents.
Why are you not like they? Yeah, he gets arrested and they take him out for frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
Hysterical. Now,
not only did they take him for frozen yogurt, I'm pretty sure they said, "Oh, we should go get frozen yogurt." And they basically said, "Unless you want to go home and jerk off."
Yes.
That's and he goes, "I think just frozen yogurt, actually."
So the characters, though, because there's parallels there, and they're meant to be between the play and the movie itself. Like it's very meta for 2001, which is. Okay. I guess that's actually the signature of this time and this type of movie.
Low budget, no name high school comedy.
Yeah. So the characters of the fairies are like these kind of mischief makers. It seems like
the fairies are like low-key the MVP of this movie.
Right. Now the parallel of the fairies, though, I feel are the two parents and Colin Hanks.
In what way?
They're kind of just creating, like pushing the character a little bit forward. Or creating a little bit of chaos or something, and just like making you go with the flow. The reason with the parents being this whole thing, there's a crazy house party. They don't shut it down. They just they bolster it, and then Colin Hanks throws the party to begin with. That's why I put him in that same bucket.
Wait, also, he threw that party at Ben Foster's house,
correct? Without
Ben Foster being present or being aware,
correct?
Like. How?
we don't ask these questions. That's
they're
how.
In and around the house, like it's like fully catered, like punch and like speakers and everything inside of another person's house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are the types of things that you don't ask when you watch a movie like this. Like any of these movies that have a house party,
watching it this time.
Well, but any of these movies, whether it's this or Can't Hardly Wait. Or like any of those movies, when they have the house party, you're like, this would have taken days to set up.
And he did it in like 3 hours, finding out that his parents were out of town.
He did it between stopping at the music store and them going their separate ways.
Yes.
Oh my god, so good. I just love these movies so much. There's so much. They're just feel good, entertaining movies, and sometimes that's what you want. Ethan Hawke. Sometimes you just want just a movie to laugh at and enjoy your time. Not everything needs to be like an art piece. I love it. So much fun.
It's just like it looks like they're having fun doing it. Like the big red scene, like shit like that. Like sure there's some overacting in all of this, like, but like they all look like they're having fun. The main cast has good chemistry. The scene at the end when the two of them are dancing and singing and competing.
Yeah, this is one of the earliest dance battles.
Yeah, the whole dance battle thing, like, he literally punches him in the face somehow and gets away with it and no one notices.
Well, and I like that you said no one notices, because that's where Colin Hanks watching the play comes in. This is one of the things that I love that these movies do. It has to be absurd, right? They have to kind of go over the top and you have to just accept the things that are going on. But there's always like a grounding character who borderline breaks the fourth wall. And that's what Colin Hanks is during.
The voice of reason / voice of skepticism throughout the course of it.
Well, at least during that scene, during the scene of the play, because everybody else is super into it, laughing, enjoying it, applauding. And he's just got this look on his face of, what the hell is going on? Which is how you should feel as the audience member. And it just works so well. And having that discrepancy between him and like literally everybody else in the room. It's just so funny.
And also, the whole side story with the like the girl with like the curse.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck was going on?
You know what I love about that? It's completely unnecessary, but I love every second. It's entertaining. There's no reason for it at all. It serves no purpose. It's just some extra thing that they wrote in that they thought was funny.
Well, and like each like scene that she's in, like it's pretty snappy. Like it goes by pretty quick, and it's good. Like just like kind of like a pressure valve of like, like just have a quick laugh. Like doesn't matter at all, other than for a laugh. That's all she's there for. Doesn't have anything to do with the story up until the very end.
And all three guys needed to end up with a girl. Mm-hmm. So that was the other part of it too.
It was a real left field thing because everything else was obviously having built to the first couple of times that that Sisko and Mila Kunis are on, and he's just staring there with his like mouth agape, and she's like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, no. And they did like 2 or 3 times.
I love
like
that.
In the first 10 minutes of the movie.
His whole dance sequence is great too, where he is not part of the play. Somebody breaks their leg. No,
he
gets drunk.
Yes, yeah, no, he got drugged at the party.
Yeah. Well, no, he get sick because somebody puked in the punch bowl. I think that's what happened.
Oh, did someone throw up in the punch bowl? I was a little distracted watching it at that exact part of the sequence. But like, I remember someone making a comment about the punch, and I just assumed that being a big party in a punch bowl, I assumed someone spiked it.
No, I'm pretty sure someone threw up in it. But anyway, this guy, for whatever alcoholic reasons, can't be in the play. Then Martin Short's like, well, this whole play is already a disaster. Anybody here can dance? And that's basically how that goes down. And he kind of, my coach calls me, what does he call him? Crazy Legs?
Coach calls me Crazy Legs? Super.
Super. And then I love, so he gets on stage and he's like getting into it. And he's starting to win Mila Kunis' character over, like, because they're dancing, they're having a good time. And then when the actual part comes up in the play and he just like goes all out and improvises, and he's doing flips and all sorts of crazy spins, and everybody else just kind of moves to the side. It's just so funny. And what I love about that is Martin Short's watching the play, and right before it starts, he's like, well, here goes this disaster. And then it starts and people are enjoying it, and he's watching and he's so excited about it. And like he's a roller coaster of emotions in the seat, and it's so funny and it's so well done. And then at the very end, when everybody's applauding, he's so proud of himself for having done nothing.
Yes.
It's literally everybody else.
Well, at the end, they completely changed the ending of the play.
Yes.
They completely go off strip. Like, he starts, what's his name? Even like Shane West goes, wait, there's no rhyming in this.
Yeah. And then the pyrotechnics blow him up.
Yes.
Launches the accident-prone girl 1,000 feet in the air and lands in Colin Hanks' arms.
A fitting ending to this ridiculous movie.
Beautiful. No, let's talk about the fitting ending, and that is the during the credits musical number
with Sisko and Vitamin C.
With Sisko, yes. And in that moment, it took me. It starts off, and I'm very much enjoying it. This is great to watch. It's hysterical. Real, like, it's Sisko getting into this song. He's dancing, he's grooving, he's feeling it, he's moving around, and I can't help but notice for like a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, I'm like, God, like, he reminds me of somebody. I'm like, who is this that he reminds me of? And then it dawns on me, and I go, oh my God, Sisko is Ruby Rhod in that scene. And it's spot. I feel like it's so spot on that that's who the character is based off.
Way less annoying.
Way less annoying, except that he is still doing some of like the high notes and the facial expressions that go along with it.
Yeah, but he can actually sing. He has a good voice.
I know that. But it's so good, and it's oh man, I want to watch it again.
I'd love to watch it uninterrupted.
Yeah, that'd be good for you. Now, so in the end, did Gianna actually get to see it?
No.
All right, so we're gonna have to make that happen.
Yes.
What we'll have to do is
They seemed interested through the first 15 minutes of the movie. So.
Okay. We'll get a list of the best ones to watch that are in this genre, and we'll introduce her to them.
We may end up having to do that other movie I just mentioned. We may have to give ourselves a few weeks to kind of like...
Yeah. We can't do them all at once. And then,
but that was actually a pretty solid movie. I think you guys would enjoy that.
A few months after that, we'll do 10 Things I Hate About You so that you can finally see that. It's going to be good. We should all watch that one together. It's very entertaining.
Okay.
Maybe we'll
is that one as cheesy as this?
You know what it is? It's not... Is it as cheesy?
I mean, I want to be clear.
No, it's less...
It was cheesy. It was cheesy in a good way, but it is undeniably cheesy.
It's less cheesy than this movie.
Okay.
It's more well done. And the thing is, I feel like every character in that movie that is not super well known is a high caliber actor. So you got Heath Ledger, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Julia Stiles. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Anyway, there's some good people in it. I'm
pretty sure I only knew that Heath Ledger. I think I knew Julia Stiles, and I definitely did not know that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in that movie.
And they're all fantastic. So like I think it's just it's just a solid cast of characters, and just a all around good feeling movie. Been done before. There's a lot of similarities between it and other things and other movies in this genre, but it's probably my favorite of the genre.
I was surprised rewatching this because it's been quite a while since I'd seen it. That just kind of how much of like this like surrealism that they leaned into with this, but like they didn't overdo it, because if they had put much more in, it would have been way too much.
Yeah,
it's actually not a terribly made movie.
No, it's what I want from that time.
Yes,
it's what I want. Also, what I want is more scenes of him getting shot with a crossbow. I
completely forgot about that scene, and I remember I saw like the cover of the movie, and I was like confused. I was like, I don't remember there being a fucking crossbow. Like, was it? And then she shoots him. I was like, oh my god, yes.
So funny, man. If you've gotten this far and you haven't seen it already, just watch it. If you're in the mood for a good time, get some popcorn going, sit back.
It's a pretty short movie. Not even an hour and a half long.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. Pick it up.
And like, I also kind of got a kick out of that opening song that we were talking about with Vitamin C. Like, they did the whole song.
The whole song.
Like, it was
ending in like a blood curdling scream, right? Is that how that?
Yeah, him screaming, like, just because it finally hits him, because he's just, like, in a daze up until that point. Because, like, it kind of went the whole, like, Family Guy route, like, that we talk about, where it keeps going, and it's like, okay, like, they're going to really do this whole song for 5 minutes, and it comes back around, and it's like, yeah, no, that was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I hope you did, too.
Solid movie.
Anything else?
No, I think that's about it for me.
Nice. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. Thank you for joining us. If you want a topic for the show and you want us to do a movie or something else you want us to cover, please send those suggestions to flixandasix@spintune.com. We will be back next week for more movie and beer goodness. With that, I'm Anthony Costanzo. He is Alessandro Biolsi. Until next time, cheers.